When I was 4 years old, I was accused of starting a fire in my parents' basement without them even knowing that I had a disability until they realized, oh, he's got CP, he wouldn't have started said fire.
So wait. Yeah, hold on. Brock, are you trying to say that just because you have cerebral palsy, it means that there's no way that you could be a pyromaniac?
Yeah, like it vindicated you?
What kind of f***ing assumption is that, brother?
I guess I could have at 4. I could have, started a fire, but I would have had to get down a few flights of stairs, which then I would have been a puddle of whatever at the bottom of it.
just bones and flesh. I am so effing stoked about this conversation. I'll get into why, but before we do, I'm going to start it off with this question here for you, Brock. Out of the entire span of your life, I'm curious to know if you can think about the most awkward or like just totally insane experience you've had where someone made just a bonkers assumption about you based on your disability.
Based on my disability? When I was 4 years old, I was accused of starting a fire in my parents' basement without them even knowing that I had a disability. Like, they didn't even know I had a disability. They just assumed that I was a 4-year-old until they realized, oh, he's got CP, he wouldn't have started said fire. And we can get into the details of that. But yeah, that was the most confusing and awkward moment in my early life, being 4 and being accused of starting a fire.
So wait. Yeah. Hold on. Brock, are you trying to say that just because you have cerebral palsy, it means that there's no way that you could be a pyromaniac?
Yeah, like it vindicated you?
What kind of assumption is that, brother?
Correct, right? I guess I could have at 4. I could have, started a fire, but I would have had to get down a few flights of stairs, which then I would have been a puddle of whatever at the bottom of it.
just bones and flesh.
Assume that I couldn't have been a pyromaniac, at least in the basement anyway.
Wait, you're more of a main floor pyro.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so
unless there's a dumb waiter.
There's so much to unpack from this story alone, I'm sure. But just to clarify, when you were 4, a fire started in your house. You were not yet diagnosed with CP, and it wasn't until some time had passed and you got diagnosed with CP that they were like, oh, well, actually, there's no way he did start that fire.
Yeah, he got out of jail last week.
So I actually, so the fire started, this was actually the third fire that had happened in the course of a year. And so this was the third fire that had occurred. And they didn't know that, they hadn't seen me. So they were just accusing me as this, 4-year-old who's the boy, and maybe the 4-year-old likes to play with matches. And my parents were like, yeah, you want to actually see who this 4-year-old is? He can't hold himself up properly at this point in his life.
Okay.
So it wasn't your parents accusing you. It wasn't your parents were like, did you start this fire? It was like
the fucking fire
The
marshal.
fire department.
Right.
It was the fire marshal, because they were trying to get out of their own doing of not putting out the fire for the third one, and it was inside the walls. And then they were like, oh, well, maybe he started. And it's like, no, the fire was actually inside the walls, because this was the third fire that had happened over a 1-year span.
3
in the same
fires.
House.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the 3
wild.
fires?
Well, okay. I do want to get in. I do want to get into the firestorm story.
I just want to say, before we even move on from this part, this reminds me of, so when I was 8, my parents came to me one morning and they're like, hey, look, we know you've been sleepwalking and going downstairs into the basement and
vigorously jerking off into a bunch of socks.
Not jerking off, but peeing
At
on
8?
the floor. And so they were like, hey, look, you've been peeing on the
Eight-year-olds
floor.
jerk off. That's like around the time where you start flicking your bird and you're like, whoa, this kind of feels
know
good.
if you're, yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay.
When I was 8, I was ramming my percussor into my going, holy This thing is amazing.
I wasn't doing that at this point, but I was. They were like, "Hey, look, we think you're going downstairs and peeing on the floor," and there was this like yellow puddle.
So they were prepared when
liquid.
I was a teenager and sleeping over at your house
They were,
drunk.
yeah.
Okay.
My mom was. But what had actually happened, and we didn't find this out until like days later, is that our refrigerator was leaking refrigerant fluid.
Oh my
and it
God.
was going down in the walls behind and like seeping out through the.
Oh.
Well, that's
They're
I
like,
mean, that's your
"What?"
parents' first problem. You
That's
shouldn't be
not good.
putting piss in where the refrigerator
Yeah,
fluid
that's
goes.
right.
That's crazy. So Brock, let's get into it. You said it earlier. You live with CP. CP stands for Cerebral
Cerebral
Palsy.
Palsy.
But actually, you officially, it's not cerebral palsy. Well, I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I read somewhere, according to you, which you said to me, was that it's officially periventricular leukomalacia,
Oh, okay.
PVL.
Is that a type of?
Very close. Periventricular leukomalacia. And I literally put that in there because I know you guys have fun with these.
Yeah,
long
yeah.
ass
You know how
names.
bad I am
Yeah.
at pronouncing
Jared-
everything.
Jared butchered it compared to the real
It's-
pronunciation.
You know what? It's not really. You just have to, Jared. I think you say these words too slow, like you're stumbling.
Yeah, yeah,
If
I
you just
gotta-
say it with
yeah.
confidence.
I think you also say
It
it
doesn't
like
matter.
you like you would if you were a normal person versus thinking like a medical.
Right. So periventricular periventricular
Yeah, yeah.
leukomalacia.
Yeah.
yeah,
Malaysia,
yeah,
Malaysia.
yeah. We have
You
to.
know- Yeah, let you get PVL. What is PVL? Because I don't think we've ever heard that term before on the podcast. And how does it differ, or how is it linked with CP? What's going on there?
So PVL is basically where I have a bunch of cysts on my brain that are literally just cysts, and they sit there, and they where they are located on my brain, they're located where I'm affected with my fine motor skills. I don't have the ability to walk. I don't have the ability to write, but all of my organs work as they should. Everything. It's just literally where these cysts land. I just don't have the ability to walk. The messaging from my brain to the rest of my body gets a little screwed up when we try to communicate with
Right.
each other.
So
we
like,
asked you earlier to clap as a part of, like, because when we record, we need sync claps. Where I'll say Jeremy, and then I clap, and then we use the peak of that clap in the audio to sync up the video. And I said, I asked you to clap. I know that you weren't going to be able to clap, so I was being kind of a dickhead there.
Flashback.
Yeah. Studio.
Brian.
Taylor.
All right, Brock. Say your name, and if you can, clap your hands.
The clapping part I cannot do, but
Try your best.
I can. It's not
Yeah,
there we go.
baby!
We got
Oh yeah, yeah, dude.
okay. Brock. There you go.
There.
Brock.
End of flashback.
And seeing you try to clap is a really great example of what these cysts are doing in your brain. It's preventing you from that, again, like that fine motor skill of just going two hands together, where in your body it's like, well, I can't actually do something as simple as that. So that leads me to, I think, the question that we all have is, how do you masturbate?
I have the ability to do that, and now it's not so much based on disability, it's based on me being a fat ass. That's the problem. that's the challenge that we exist with. It's doable, but when the hand doesn't want to let go, it's like, okay, this is good, but it's no longer comfortable at a certain point. So that's the challenge we have to exist with that.
God
But
bless you,
thankfully,
Brock,
I
for
am
just
married
rolling
now.
for
and-
rolling with the
punches,
punches.
man.
Yeah, Brock.
I wanted to ask though, PVL, because the cysts are just like, presumably like sort of randomly spread out across the brain. Like, does that mean that everybody with PVL experiences it totally differently?
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. It literally depends on where exactly your cysts are located. I have friends who have PVL who can literally walk, and they might be able to walk with a limp. I have other friends who are sitting in a wheelchair and, for lack of a better word, are just making noises as they're communication.
Yeah, so it can affect fine motor
situation.
control. It can affect development. It can affect vision. It can affect hearing. Pretty much all of the above.
So in terms of cerebral palsy, like my understanding of cerebral palsy in I'm gonna say most cases, because I don't know if it's all cases, is that there's something going on when you're in utero, and maybe it's the
It's a brain injury.
the umbilical cord is wrapped in a certain way, and then there's like a lack of oxygen, and that affects the brain, and then that's what commonly leads to cerebral palsy. Is PVL, is it like these cysts are sort of, because of where they are in your brain, are they like mimicking what people with cerebral palsy have, or is PVL a type of cerebral palsy? Like, how does that, like, from the medical like kind of lens, what does that mean?
PVL is a type of cerebral palsy. So in my case, I was 3 months premature. I was supposed to be born in April. I was born in January. And the
Good
lovely resident doctor, instead of doing a C-section when he should have, he decided to go up my mom and try to pull me out that way. That didn't work. I went up further, and then a lack of oxygen, and this is where we are. If he had done the C-section as was recommended, then I would have still had cerebral palsy likely, but it would have been at a far less level than what I have today.
Okay.
So the reason why I was so excited at the start of this conversation, and continue to be excited as we move through it, is because, Brock, not only are you joining us here on Sickboy today as a guest, you're also joining the team for the next little while. The way that we came to meet you, Brock, is through a program through CBC called AccessCBC. I'm probably going to butcher the explanation of this, but basically AccessCBC is a program that is teaming people with disabilities up with teams at CBC. And there's multiple different sort of programs, or I guess sort of avenues in which this program is working with CBC. So there's someone working in like the children's television department. There's people working in the like CBC radio department. There's people working in the podcast stream like us, or unscripted streams. And so CBC very, very graciously asked if we would like to be a part of this program. They thought the fit would be great because, Sickboy and disability, and those two things kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, if the glove fits.
And so we slipped that glove right on, and
it's an O.J. Simpson reference.
We were given a bunch of applicants, and we went through all of those applicants, and Brock was the one that stood out to us the most. And so for the next several months, Brock is basically going to be a team member here at Snack Labs with Sickboy, and we're going to be working together to put episodes together and bring new, fresh content to all you listeners. So, Brock, welcome to the team, man.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure for me to be a part of the team. So my true and honest story to this whole thing is, I had just found you guys probably a couple of months before I had applied for the CBC Access program. And I had applied for it because I run my own podcast, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit. But I had sort of found you guys, and I said to myself, man, I'd love to work with a group like that. And I was about to kind of think about, putting my name forward as a guest and telling you the stories of my fires and going to school and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, it was like, hey, you got accepted by this program. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to work with these guys, and it's going to be a really good fit. So I am truly, truly excited to be a part of it.
Well, let's get into, obviously we're gonna talk about your experience with cerebral palsy, or aka PVL. But as we move through that, I would love to go into this story about the house fires, because it's bananas. So take us through that sort of time period there. You said that there were 3 house fires all within the span of a few months. What the hell is what is going on with the homes that your family were living in at the time?
So this was one home. The first house fire it was in the winter of 1994. And no, I think we were just started in 1995 because I think it was the beginning of 95. And so somehow the snowsuit was dripping onto the furnace. The furnace then caught on fire, and that was a whole thing. That was fire number 1. We all got out there. It was all good. Fire number 2, my sister had a lava lamp, which exploded, basically. Thank goodness she was not home that day. And then the third fire was basically in conjunction with the second one, that there was fires inside the wall still, and the fire department cleared us to go back. So within 12 hours of the third fire, we were going to school, first day of school in 1996, I believe. And then the bus driver pulls up, and she said to me, or us, and I quote, "Your house is on fire." We turn around, and our house was literally ablaze. So yeah, that's kind of the story of the house fires. It was wild.
So the third fire there that you're talking about, from what I've gathered, is that they put out the fire, quote unquote, put out the fire, and they were like, "All right, you guys are good. You can go back in your home, live your lives."
Fire, they came and put it out, and we're like, "You're good to go back."
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But like the third is sort of like, the bus driver's going, "Your house is on fire." This is after the firefighters put out the fire. It turns out there was still fire inside the walls that they missed,
which is actually a common thing. So when a house catches on fire, sometimes the heat can light like the insulation in the walls on fire, and it will sort of like smolder. And they have to like clear that to make sure. And usually they'll use like heat detection guns to make sure that there's no.
How the fuck do you know this?
I don't know.
He worked in. He was a realist. He was a realtor.
Yeah, right. I guess real. Yeah, right.
Guys, I'm also looking up when you said the lava lamp thing, Brock, I was like, how the does that start a fire? Guys, lava lamps are basically like having a stick of dynamite.
Dude, there's
just like chilling in your house.
Dude, it's literally a glass case of napalm.
Dude, it's crazy.
Is that actually what it is?
Oh, I mean, I was like, I asked ChatGPT, I was like, how would a lava lamp cause a fire if it breaks or explodes? And it's like, here's 10 ways that a fire could start if a lava lamp breaks in your house.
You should say, give me 10 more.
So presumably, Brock, like after they cleared the house the second time, it was shortly after that the third fire happened because of this fire that had been happening in the walls.
Yeah, so we all, like my siblings and I, like we're no more than 3 years apart between me and my oldest sister. So we were all like terrified after fire number 2. We came back into mom and dad's house, or into their bedroom, slept on the floor, kind of did like a in-house camp day or night, and we woke up in the middle of the night, and my mom's like, there's like new smoke. And the challenge with this is that because the second fire was, you still smelled the remnants of smoke, you didn't really know the difference between like new smoke and old smoke, and you would think there's another fire gonna still be there. So anyway, we all got out to go and see me off to school. I was going into my first year of kindergarten that year, and everybody in the family came out to see the youngest kid go to kindergarten, which, by the way, never happened again after that. Like, everybody saw me off to school first day of kindergarten, and then nobody gave a after that, and it was like, oh, the disabled boy can go to school, and it's no big deal.
I remember that.
That's really what happened, was that everybody came out, and then we turned around and our house was ablaze. Needless to say, my parents just said, we're done with this house, we're walking away, and that's it. Like,
I mean, it sounds like the house is haunted, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely.
This is like Amityville horror type
Yeah.
shit.
So Brock, living with cerebral palsy, let's get into what that experience has been like for you. Obviously, this is something you've been dealing with your entire life. What was, take us back to like those early days, probably, those kindergarten years. At what point for you was the time where you started to kind of conceptualize and understand that, like, okay, I am different from my sisters. I am different from my peers. I'm dealing with something that sort of sets me apart from them.
I think I really started to learn it like when I began school. I began to see that, my siblings were different. They could physically do different things than I could. The people at my school could do different things than I could. And I really, truly struggled with that for the first, few years of my life, is like, who am I? What am I? What am I doing? And I think for me, it did take a long time to realize my footing of where I am and what I'm supposed to do. I think today, and I might be jumping ahead for you a little bit, but I think today I have a little bit more of an understanding. I am who I am. And if somebody said to me, we have a magical potion that you can take and you would get rid of your cerebral palsy, I would say no, because I built my life around my cerebral palsy. But when I was young, yeah, if somebody said to me, take this and it'll go away, I would have done it, because school years was just awful for me. Awful.
What why? What were the hard parts about school? Was it bullying? Was it just the notion that you couldn't do the things that you felt like maybe you wanted to do? Was it the way that your teachers like treated you? Like, what was the hard part?
So it really started with being just different than everybody else. Everybody else would go running out to the playground, and I'm going to go play soccer, and I'm going to go do this. And I was the classic one that, I guess if we have to pick him, then we will, that's what we'll do. But it really began getting harder in like middle school, when I was placed in a contained classroom, and I do not have any cognitive deficiencies. I was placed in a contained classroom where they were learning circles and triangles and squares, and the teacher would draw that on the board, and she'd be like, "What is this, Brock?" And I'd be like, "It's a circle," and that's it. And
Oh my God, that must be infuriating.
I would go home and tell my parents that this is what I was learning. And unbeknownst to me, I still to this day, I cannot figure this out at all. But unbeknownst to me, they were sending home fabricated work that I was doing and showing my parents that I was grade level where I should have been, and I was not. And so,
oh my goodness.
Back then you would sort of realize, the teachers in the authoritative position, I'm a young kid, what have you. And then I ended up really getting frustrated. And one day I came to my mom and I said, if you don't listen to what I'm saying to you, then I'm going to roll myself
burn this
in
fucking
front of
house
a bus.
down.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, that too. Again. Then I'm going to put myself in front of a bus and let it hit me, because
Brock.
it was just not, it was not a good scene. And at that point, the educational assistant called, and because I guess she couldn't tolerate it anymore. And this was in grade 6, new school. They were terrible. And the educational assistant called and actually confessed to my mother that everything that I was saying was accurate, and that, she couldn't stand herself with her job, and that's that.
God.
So there was that. And then, like, I would only be able to go to the bathroom once a day. Okay, once a day in grade 6. I cannot physically help myself to the bathroom. And so they would only schedule once a day. If I didn't go to the bathroom in that 11 to 11:20 period, like, that was it. Like, I was done. And so constantly in grade 6, I would be wetting myself, and then
oh my God.
they would change me, and they would put garbage bags on my seat so that they didn't have to change the covers, and I would then have to roll through the rest of my day doing that, and I would just go home and they'd write in my notes, oh, Brock wet himself because he didn't tell us he had to go to the bathroom. And again, I would tell my parents, and this was all before the educational assistant actually admitted that everything was going on. And it was just wild until one day my mom realized that it was going on, and she went to the principal and said something needs to change. And the principal still told my mom that I was lying, and so I got moved to school. But yeah, that's kind of the middle ground of my schooling.
I mean, like, it sounds like it reminds me of like this, like scenes that you might see in a movie where somebody for whatever reason gets like put in a mental asylum in a straitjacket, and they're like
Shutter Island,
and they're like, I'm not. Yeah. They're like, I'm not crazy, and they're like, yeah, that's exactly what a crazy person would say.
But in Shutter Island, they make you think that he's not, but then in the end, he really is. So maybe crazy. Brock actually is with us.
Yeah,
don't with us, Brock.
I'm thinking less Shutter Island and more, I don't know, some other movie where that happens.
It must be a surreal experience though, like not having any cognitive, not having a cognitive disability, and like being totally aware of what's happening, but like just having people basically gaslight you about
and not
experience.
having people believe you. I mean,
or
like
gaslight your parents. I mean, sorry, Brock, and I mean, so just so I can wrap my head around this, because it to what you just said there, Taylor, it almost seems implausible. Like it sounds so crazy to me that this is a reality that you and your parents went through. What you're saying is that they would tell your parents that, oh no, Brock's actually like, he's completely inept. Like the guy can barely tell us it's a circle when it's a circle, and yet you're telling your parents like, guys, what the hell are we doing here? Like, no, this is crazy. I'm telling you, and I mean, your parents must have been like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
and like, is
confusing
your take on this, Brock, that it was like, okay, we have this like one slot for going to the bathroom because it's just like such a headache, or like putting you into the classroom setting where you should have been cognitively was just like, oh, that's just like such a pain in the ass for our like school system that it would just be way easier for us to like put you in this class with all of these people and just pretend like this is where you're supposed to be, because that's like the path of least resistance for the school. Like,
or did they just look at you and go, no, it's clear he can't, like he's not bright enough.
So there's two sides to this. When I was in the moment in school, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I was like, oh, am I being duped? Like, like what's happening? Right. And so in the moment, because you would believe authoritative people, you would believe them.
Sure.
And so, but I didn't know until years later. I was unaware that they were sending my parents fabricated work that I was doing at a regular grade 6 level. And I'm going, guys, I'm in a room with people that are like making noises that I can't even try to make. Like there's people rocking, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to those individuals, but it's like, I can't make this up. And like, my sisters actually had to come to the school to sort of like figure out what was going on. And it got so bad that like I only had one friend who had a disability that was not in the cognitive class, and they took that friend away from me. Like, they made my that school year, they made it was terrible. And then my parents, even to this day, like, I bring it up and they're like, we're not going to talk about that, because they feel terrible because they have literal evidence that would show them that I was working. So then I was working at a regular level. So then I would turn around and go, but like, I'm not. They're drawing circles on a board. They're giving me, lollipops to shut me up every day. Like, this is not what I'm meant to do. And so that entire year led me to go into another school, because finally the principal just let me go to another school. Right. And I went to another school, and before my mom even spoke to that principal, he called my mom before the school year started, and he said, "Mrs. Richardson, I'd like to apologize to you for what your son went through at the school." And she said, "Oh, how do you know?" And she said, "I've seen their notes." And my mom goes, "You want to see mine?" And he goes, "No, thanks, because it's bad enough." So I had to take another year of grade 8. I passed grade 7 with coming through, but I had to take another year of grade 8 just to kind of catch me up from what the rest of everybody was doing. So I actually finished school a year later than everybody else in my bracket because of what that school.
Wow.
I mean, like, it's kind of like it speaks to like how not that the way that school systems or society in general might be treating people with disabilities in 2025, but like 30 years ago, just the idea, and I wouldn't be surprised if this happens, some places now in North America, that like that it's like, hey, let's just take people who have cognitive disabilities and people with physical disabilities and just go, let's just toss them into the same bucket.
Yeah.
And let's not individualize what people
I also
need.
think and I'm not saying that this is what happened in your situation necessarily, Brock, but I think that that's a good point, Taylor, in the sense that it's easy to rationalize the teacher's thoughts that there's no opportunity for you beyond like high school or whatever, in the sense that like the world's gonna be so tough for you. People aren't, we just had this conversation with Ryan yesterday, who was told his entire life as someone living with Duchenne's muscular dystrophy that it would be impossible for him to become
He'll amount
a
to
counselor.
nothing. Yeah.
Like, he's never going to get a real job or anything like this, even though cognitively, like, there's no, he doesn't have any issues. And so there's this like stereotypical idea in society that if you're disabled, you can't, be successful in the quote unquote real world. And so coming back to this like idea of like, how do teachers or people in these positions of power end up not giving you like, the workload that's would be expected for a quote unquote regular student at your level? Well, like I think stereotypically it would be easy to understand how somebody would just like throw in the towel and assume like, well, you don't really need to learn this because there's going to be no opportunities for you beyond this.
Well, I mean, it like, so not to like make this a joke, but like there's a reason why I asked that really dumb question earlier about like, how do you jerk off, and it points to that exact thing. I think a lot of people make the assumption that like, oh, people with disabilities, they can't experience pleasure. They can't experience like, they don't have a sex drive. They don't get horny. Like what, how can someone get horny if they can't even clap their hands? Like that's the way that I think a lot of people just innately think because of the way that they've been brought up or those predisposed sort of thoughts or stereotypes that they just kind of fall into. But of course you fucking like, I mean, we don't need the gritty details of how you actually come, Brock, but like you said so yourself, you're like, yeah, no, I can. It's just not, it's not like it's not as easy as one might think.
It's different. That's why some people will say like, it's not a disability, it's a different ability.
Yeah.
But like some people also hate
so
that.
What, like,
yeah.
so Brock, like what's like on that like broad take of like this idea that I think largely exists in society, and I'd like to know your thoughts on it. That like people with disabilities can't do or don't want to do or don't have the drive to do the things that people without disabilities have. Like how do you see that? How do you see that societal kind of thought and how it's affected you in your life?
I actually don't think it's necessarily the disability community as a whole. I think it's the laziness that exists in society. It's that whole, like, we're just going to do this because it's easier. Like, I think when I think back on what happened to me when I was younger, being in a contained classroom, I think the bottom line is they didn't have the resources, the time, nor the desire to have somebody with me one-on-one all the time. So they just thought, we're going to throw him in this, contained classroom and hope that he goes away quietly. And the reality is I sort of went through with it quietly, but it's not me, and I don't think it's the general rule of society. I think it's just the general rule of the disability community, excuse me. I think it's just society thinks we're going to take the easy way out of this and try to get by.
The ironic part there is that like it seems like it was more work for them, because not only are they putting you into this contained classroom and trying to sort of shut you up. On top of that, they're making fake work
That's
to
so
send
wild.
home to your parents to make your parents think that you're in a regular classroom doing regular work when you're not. It's like, who was the one doing that? Who's the one that's like, oh God, I got to sit down and write a like book review for like, the Clifford the Big Red Dog, and I got to write it as though it was Brock writing it.
It sounds
Like
like,
how
a
do you
cover-up.
how do you sleep at night?
That sounds like
fucking
a
crazy.
cover-up. Like
It is a cover-up.
You got like caught being lazy, and so therefore to justify it, you made up
Now,
fake work.
if you now we all are sitting here, we all agree that this is a cover-up that happened. If that's possible, if it's possible down to the to the grade level of a grade 6-year-old boy in a classroom,
it's an alien.
then how is it not possible that there's a cover-up that Lockheed Martin has reverse engineered tech and they're flying Tic Tacs around in airspace that they shouldn't be flying around in?
You're right. You're right.
God
You're
damn
right.
it. God
You know what,
damn
Jared? That's the first time that you've connected a couple of dots for me that completely changed the game.
Speaking of tech, I just want to say there's an interesting idea that I learned.
I'm so sorry, Brock. We're fucking idiots.
In my cybersecurity class, that in order for an attack to happen, for something to be called an attack, there needs to be a method to do the attack. There needs to be the opportunity for the attack to take place, and there needs to be motive.
Yeah.
And this actually relates to
when Brock burned his house down.
But it relates to the situation of like what happened with, like, let's say Brock being able to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, when you think of like this person who was supposed to be taking him to the bathroom, like, did they have the opportunity to take him to the bathroom? Of course, if he said he needed to go to the bathroom, then the opportunity exists. But then you get to the other two, which is really important in these like systems that take care of people with disabilities, is, do you have the method? So like, is there a way for you to leave the other students? Like, do you have additional support there so that you can actually go and spend time with the person who needs to use the bathroom? And then the other thing is the motive. Like, do you really want to do this? Like, do you really understand the person with the disability and what their needs are? And like, do you want to be able to help this person and do that thing?
This is really thoughtful, Brian. I'm giving bonus points.
And that, folks, is a DDoS attack.
I think it's a really good way to think of things, because like we oftentimes like wonder like, why didn't that person do that thing? Like, it seems so obvious. There's these needs that are not being met. In your case, Brock, your needs. But like, when you think of like, why didn't they just do it? I had to use the bathroom and I told them they needed to use the bathroom. I needed to use the bathroom. The picture is often much bigger and nuanced than this. And it doesn't mean that like they did a bad job. Like, obviously you needed to use the bathroom. And so in this case, your needs weren't being met, and that is a bad thing. But like, why? Like, was it the?
I mean, it's a blend. It's a blend of them doing a bad job, and
the system.
There not being the infrastructure needed to support someone like Brock in that class, right?
Yeah, or even the support for the teacher.
That's what I mean.
Totally.
Yeah, right.
Brock, I mean, let's get off the topic of you not being able to do anything and pissing yourself and having shitty teachers and all that stuff, and move into the things that you have done, because you've lived a really impressive life. You're a Paralympian, dude.
Yes, I am a 2-time Paralympian in the sport of bocce. I competed for Canada from 2007 till 2015, going to 2 Paralympic Games over that span. I was in China in 2008, Beijing, and London 2012. So I got a chance to represent Canada at multiple events, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm glad that time is done and gone, because man, does it ever take a lot of time and effort to be a high-level athlete.
So
Totally.
for all of our listeners who are not familiar with bocce ball, walk us through it. What is bocce ball?
So bocce ball is like curling without the ice. So you basically throw the target ball, which is the white ball, and then you have to aim as close as possible to that in order to get a point. So you each have 6 bocce balls. One person has 6 red, the other person has 6 blue, and that's how the game is played.
So we're watching a
very
clip.
close.
Watching a clip of you playing right now. Here, I want to take this back. So right here, we see you sitting there. You've got the ball. Now watch this, guys. Watch this. This is what sets the pros apart. Okay. And I've never played bocce ball competitively.
You can tell it's a subtle
I've never
backspin.
played bocce ball sitting in a wheelchair. But watch what Brock, and you tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm going to make an assumption, but let's talk about technique. Watch what Brock does with the ball. Okay, he's got it. It's like I'm ready to throw it, and he doesn't throw it. What he does is right there. Did you catch that? He made a little adjustment. Brock, what was that adjustment? And is that technique, or were you just stalling?
You're itchy.
So it's partly it's two-sided. As this is towards the end of my career, so as my career was becoming towards an end, I was having more and more trouble with the grip of the bocce ball. So you can change it, but in that case, it's not as fancy as you made it out to be, Brian. Which
Come
I
on,
wish
Brock, you
I
can
wish,
lie. Fucking just lie, like you did when you burned your house down.
Right? But so there is technique like that, but in that case, not. So.
Do you that's interesting. I was wondering. You touched on something that I was a question I had in the back of my mind. There is if I'm playing bocce ball and I don't have a physical disability,
Okay, Taylor. Jesus Christ, you don't have to rub it in. Dude.
I'm gonna if I have a career that starts on this day and ends on this day, I'm probably gonna throw the ball. I'm probably gonna my technique will probably be pretty similar throughout the whole of that time span. With you, it sounds like you had your ability to move and the way that you can move is changing over time. So are you in this? Were you in a constant adaptation of how to perfect the way that you play the game because of the way that your disability is changing throughout that time?
100%. As between 2007 and 2013, the technique was basically the same. From 2013 through to 2015 with the national program, it was more of a struggle for me to get where I needed to get to, but I was still able to make it for 2 years post that time. This one is my favorite shot that you're about to show right now.
Yeah, so let's take a look at this. This is the shot. All right, you ready for this? It's just 7 seconds of perfection. Here we go.
Oh, that reminds me of
So good.
getting a really, really awesome shot in lawn bowling.
Yeah.
When you bowl just a perfect ball and you're
So
just
the difference is with at the Paralympic bocce level, you have to do that every single shot, and the difference with us in lawn
you
bowling
can
is
do that once in a 2 month span.
once a season.
Yeah.
Brock, you played for quite a while. Yeah, I mean, what would you say out of your career of professional bocce ball? What would you say is your biggest accomplishment?
I went to my first Paralympic Games in Beijing as an 18-year-old, and I had a terrible, terrible, terrible training camp. And it was like, oh my God, I cannot hit the broadside of a barn. This is awful. I don't know what's going on. And then when the Paralympics started, and I felt like I wanted to barf all over the floor going to the first game, I ended up winning my first ever Paralympic match. I won two matches out of the 3 that I played, and I finished top 10 at my first Paralympic Games. So I went from, oh my God, I can't do this very well, I'm so nervous, to finishing top 10. So that for me is
everything. Everyone started clicking in competition.
How awesome is the Paralympics? Just the entire scene of being in the athletes' village and being around all of these other competitors.
It is
cool.
Cool.
And are they handing out condoms like they are at the able body Olympics? Are you guys you guys are just spreading chlamydia around like crazy?
Village, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's we were told in
that's the only clap that Brock can get.
Pretty much.
That was a good one.
That was good. I like that. Yeah. We were told in 2012 that we couldn't do any of that because our beds were basically made of flimsy cardboard, and so we couldn't do that. And it's like, yeah, I think people will still find their ways.
How did
sure.
tell me about traveling to Beijing? I mean, Beijing, that's a big trip. What does what does a trip like that look like for you in terms of traveling with your chair and like, talking about like the supports and infrastructure for people with disabilities? Like, how hard was that? And I guess too, like, being in Beijing, like what's the accessibility like over there? Like, take us through that trip from a disability lens.
So traveling to Beijing was not so bad. Air Canada actually had a program in 2008 where they would put all of the Paralympic athletes in first class on the way to Beijing, which was really good. We enjoyed it. We were comfortable. Going back, we were not afforded that same luxury. But
because you had to fly porter.
Yeah,
the beer was free, but there is no first class.
No, they want to get you there in first class, so you're like primed to compete. And then on the way back, they're like, you already did your job.
Exactly.
Yeah. Put him with the luggage.
But in Beijing, when we got there, we were all worried because for months before we would leave, our coaches would go and they'd say, "Oh, the smog is so bad. It's thick. It's this. It's that." And I also have asthma as well, so I was very nervous going there. I do not know what Beijing did, but when we went there, we had blue skies every single day, like no clouds, nothing. I don't know what chemical they put in the air to make that happen.
They got all types of
some kind of chemtrail, I can tell you.
When we went back in 2013, we got the real, like, oh, this is what it actually looks like, and it was not good. But yeah, overall, it was really great to be a part of such a big group, and that's one of the events where you get to be around Canadian athletes who are also competing at a high level, because when you compete at Bocce at a normal world championships, nobody cares what's going on. It's not like we're filling stadiums, but at the Paralympic Games, we had full stadiums every single day. So those are kind of the cool memories of my time at the Paralympics, for sure.
How did you get into bocce ball? Like, what was how?
So the how is a simple one. I was, because of my disability, I was given respite from the age of like 10 till 18, and my worker at the time was really looking for something for me to do, that because every one of my friends were like playing wheelchair basketball and sledge hockey and all those things, and I would go and try that, but my worker put me in a sledge and I fell one way. As she put me upright again, I fell the other way. She put me upright again, and I went backwards and fell on my back with my feet in the air. And it was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So she found Bocce, and we drove 45 minutes weekly to go to the Bocce practice. And I fell in love ever since. But it's just because I tried different sports, and it's like, yeah, this isn't going to work for my disability. I'm not going to be very good at sledge hockey, para ice hockey, because I got to stay upright and not on the ground.
And how important are sports to you in your life in general? I know before we wrap up, we should definitely dive into
the Neutral Zone
podcast. But before we get to the podcast specifically, like how important are sports to you?
Very. Sports has been my life even before I was an athlete. My dad we grew up with my dad playing sports. We would go and watch him play all the sports he did, and I've just been delved into sports my entire life, and I love it. It's one of those things that gives me an escape from the real life that is living with a disability, because as you all know, it's not an easy life to live, and I always found that sports is that sort of escape for me.
So speaking of sports and your life, you are the producer and host of the Neutral Zone, which is your own podcast. Tell us a bit about the podcast.
So the podcast was started in 2015. I wasn't the original creator necessarily of the podcast, but they started it in 2015 in honor of the Pan American Games. And then after that, I took this course that was affiliated with them, and I got to take over the podcast, and I've brought it to a couple of different companies, and we've been able to do it, but we've been 10 years running. Our main focus is para sports with a little mix of pro sports, and we talk about that on a weekly basis, and that's kind of what we do. It's a lot of fun, but as you guys know, putting together episodes is a lot of work.
Totally.
I before we wrap, I've got a couple questions here. The first one, I'm just curious, so far, how old are you now, Brock?
I am going to be 35 in January.
Okay. So if you were to sum up your entire life's journey up to this point in 3 words, what would those be?
Crazy roller coaster ride.
Nice.
That was good.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Roller
And
coaster
I
was a
like
great
how
addition.
you kind of, I mean, technically slipped in, like, there's 4 words there. It's a compound word, but like, if
Roller coaster is one
Roller
word.
coaster-
I know it
one
is
word.
one word, but it's a compound word which is made up of 2 words. So really, it's 4 words.
I'm interested to dive
I
into whether
cheated a
that's
little, sorry.
I hear
considered
what
a
you're.
compound word.
I hear
I'm
what
not-
you're saying.
I'm not
Roller
sure.
coaster?
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm not sure, because isn't there doesn't have to be a hyphen in a word to be a compound word?
No.
No.
No. Well, let's see. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I see your point, though, Jared.
I'm sorry for dwelling on the details, on the technical side. I don't
we
know.
have to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, get to the bottom of it.
I see your point though, because like it was.
Yes,
3
roller
words.
coaster is an
Guys,
open...
we're all into sports and we all love rules.
Here we
So
go. We're actually going to learn something here. It's an open compound word
Oh, okay.
formed by combining 2 separate words, roller and coaster,
So when
into a
you're-
single phrase with a distinct meaning.
So
Now, what the f- is what's an open compound?
So when
Word.
when somebody asks you to use X amount of words to describe whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you should always go for compound words because they can maximize the point that you're trying to make.
If this was a points game,
Sure.
like bocce ball, the pro is just crushing it. An open compound word is 2 or more words written separately, but functioning as a single unit with a new, unique meaning that differs from the individual words. Like, unlike closed compound words, like sunglasses,
Oh.
open compounds maintain a space between the words. So
Oh.
roller coaster is actually 2 words. It's 4 words, Brock. You lose, buddy. All right. And it was a trick question, and I knew you were going
I
to say
thought
roller
that it was
coaster.
all one. I thought it was. I
So
thought
an
I didn't know
example
that
of
there
an
was a
open,
space.
an example of an open compound word would be ice cream.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So roller coaster doesn't count. F- you, Brock, but you don't get a second chance, and that's life.
But because it's an open compound word, do you technically, as you're counting words, negate the space because the space is used, but the
I
thing
think
has
you
to
might.
be together?
I think you would.
Well, I guess we'll have
Right.
to ask.
Yeah,
Well,
'cause-
let's ask.
I think technically it is 3 words.
I think
Even
it
though
is.
there's a space, it's not a space
All right.
between
My next
word.
question, Brock,
It's a space
is
in the word.
Hold on. Let Brock. Brock has a piece to say on this.
Oh, hold on. Because you said it's 2 words compounded into 1.
Yeah.
So don't I get the points because it's compounded into 1?
Yeah,
so
totally.
no, I think I win.
All right, we'll give you a half point.
That's
There's
what I mean.
definitely a
Space.
gray area. We need further analysis, but I think Brock's right.
All right, here's the next question. If you were to sum up your entire life in a haiku, what would it be? Go ahead.
In a haiku, can you give me an example? Because I'm not sure I know exactly what a haiku
A
is. and
haiku
I
is a
don't wanna
poem where the first line is 3 syllables, the second line is 7 syllables, and then the third line is 3 syllables. Go.
Oh my God. Dude, this is like a.
Guys,
skill
he's a bocce
testing
ball
question.
professional, not a English teacher, okay?
And the third
Give him a
question
break.
is, can you
He
do
has
it in a-
cerebral palsy. Give him a break.
He's not a samurai.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No,
Are you going to try it? Jesus
Dude, if you
Christ,
could
he's going
do-
to fucking go for
if
it.
you can
Yeah.
do this, I'll
no,
be
I,
so
d- I
impressed.
don't. I don't think I can. I don't.
I can't.
I was
do
gonna
it.
say roses are red, violets are blue. My life's been shitty, but here we are. So
Hey,
yeah.
I'll give you full points for that one. Brock, what is the biggest thing that this whole segment has been much funnier than I thought it was going to be. What would you say is the biggest thing that cerebral palsy has taken away from you?
in the form of a Shakespearean
No,
play?
just regular. Just regular.
The biggest thing that cerebral palsy has taken away from me, is my ability to walk. But I think I've adapted to life in order to realize that walking isn't that exciting because everybody that I, talk to, walking isn't that fun. So I think I win in that. But really, I've made the best of my life. So even though cerebral palsy has taken away my ability to walk, I'm okay with that. It's fine.
What would you say is the biggest thing that it's given you?
It's given me my entire career. It's given me my entire life in the sense that, like, I never thought I would be in a long-term relationship, let alone being married. And I think that is something that it's given me a whole world that I never would have thought would have been available to me. Like what we're doing now over the next number of months, that this would have never been available but for my disability.
Brock, you just, Jesus Christ,
you
just opened a whole can of worms there. I had no idea you were married. That's wild. That there's an entire list of questions that I did not prep that just like exploded onto the page, and I didn't even touch my computer. But you know what, folks? I think that is a good place to end it on, a little cliffhanger, because like I said, Brock is now part of the team, and this will not be the last time that we hear from this stud of a bocce ball player and husband of the year and poet. Brock's going to be from time to time maybe popping in as a little guest host. We'll probably do some more episodes like this with Brock, and hey, maybe we'll prep a host episode soon where Brock, you can chime in with us and talk about some just wild whack shit in the world of and history of medicine. Brock, this has been just an absolute treat. I cannot express enough how grateful and excited we are to be able to have you be a part of our world, and looking forward to the next number of months as we get to work together, dude. How can people find you? How can people find the podcast? Plug away.
So if you want to find me directly, my handle is for Instagram, it's Raptors1991. For X, it's at NeutralZoneBR. You can just search me up on Facebook. It's Brock Richardson. I'm everywhere. The podcast is called The Neutral Zone. We drop weekly. You can get it anywhere you get your podcast that you follow, including Sickboy, because now I'll be promoting this show because I have a feeling I'm going to do shit on this show that I need to promote. So, yeah, you'll find me everywhere. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. This was a lot of fun, and I'm glad I cracked you guys up and got you guys to learn about, compound words being one word. So,
hell yeah, dude.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, dude.